Once again, we are broadcasting from the desk of KUCB radio station here in Des Moines, Iowa. Our motto is "Truth is the wealth of freedom." We communicate, educate, and organize. I just wanted to take out just a few minutes to mention something about two of the people who I've had the pleasure of working with over 20-some years. They have now passed on. Sister Hadashah Marion and Brother Charles Knox. Anyone that may be, that may watch this or may listen to this in the Chicago area, you would most likely know Charles Knox. Charles Knox was an individual who was involved in so many different things in Chicago and helping so many different people. We are broadcasting from KUCB in Des Moines, Iowa. So just wanted to mention those two individuals' names. The last segment that we did was called the Good Old Boys Network. And this is like a part 2 of the Good Old Boys Network. You might wonder why I'm doing a segment on the Good Old Boys Network. One of the things that we try to do here at KUCB is do stories on and talk about really and discuss things on injustice and oppression. And when we talk about the Good Old Boys Network, this is a group of individuals who kind of have over the years and still today been involved in oppression and injustice. So that's why we chose that title. And so as we look at the Good Old Boys Network, this is kind of like a part 2 of that. We can simply say that kind of network stretches from the South all the way across the U.S. It's not just confined to one area, one particular group of people in a certain area. That stretches across city lines, state, county, you name it. And so we see that happening today. At the root of oftentimes at the root of this, you have oppression and injustice. It can be like in Ferguson, Missouri, where you have injustice. It can be in a situation where in the 1940s and 50s you had Jim Crow, you had segregation, you had injustice and oppression in both of those situations. And so all of the southern states, so many of the northern states, and still today, we still have this kind of oppression and injustice going on. The message we try to relay and get to the young people today is that, when you get involved in all the crazy stuff that young people may be doing sometime or may be engaged in, then you actually kind of working and playing right into their hands, because if you look at most of the penal institutions today, they have a large percentage of African Americans, poor people in those places. And so now one of the good things about so many brothers and sisters being confined, they get a chance to study Islam. And so many brothers and sisters study Islam when they're locked up. And so when they come out, we try to at least help guide them. We know Allah is the one that guides people to the right path or to go astray. But we try to give them advice. We try to help in whatever areas we can to keep them close with the religion, close to the mosque. Try to keep them connected, because the connection and staying close with the religion, holding on to it with a tight grip, is a thing that will help them once they get out. It's one thing to hold on to something when you confine, But the real test of that is when you get out. And when you get out back into the same society that you left from, that's the real test of holding on to something. But we want to do this part 2 segment on the Good Old Boys Network. And we think that's important because that's precisely what we have going on today. Here in Des Moines, Iowa, it could be in Mississippi, it could be in South Carolina, it could be in New York City, it could be any major city. It could be where you have a segment of the population. For instance, you have so many large cities today. They are simply made up. A large percent of African Americans are made up in the cities, and in some suburban towns too. You see the same thing. But then, when it comes to the seat of control of that area, that place, usually where the oppression and the injustice lies, is you have oftentimes the sheriff department, the local police department, the local city council, the local government officials. They oftentimes, most times, all white. Now they may have a few people of other color in those positions, but the majority of those towns, the council, the police departments, they ran and operated from oppression and from injustice. That's usually the foundation of those makeup of those towns. And you can look around in any major city and you will see that. You see that's the way the city and the town is made up. Regentrification has taken place in so many cities, and even some of the smaller towns. It's taken place. This is something that was talked about back in the 60s and 70s, but now this is something that actually has been put in place, and they're operating from that basis. We're going to take a little break here from KUCB Radio, and we'll be back with you, God willing, to finish this segment part 2 of the Good Old Boys Network.